national jurisdictions with significant environmental risks in Iebc. And Part 4 extends to the digital sequence, that's information, recognizing their commercial value. This is just for technology transfer, Madam Speaker. While the access and the benefit sharing committee and Part 4 extends with the defined terms, the institution architect includes the secretariat recognizing their membership and the tenure remains still part of this treaty, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Kenya should advocate for hosting opportunities, representation, and employment within the institutions established under the agreement to ensure equitable benefits for developing nations. There is need for evidence-based research in a treaty ratification process to optimize national benefits as envisaged under CAF 4D. The agreement provides that no reservations or exceptions may become made of the agreement, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the committee, having deliberated and conducted a public participation in line with the Constitution, the Treaty-Making Ratification Act and our standing orders recommends the following. One, that pursuant to Articles 10, Sub-Article 1, Article 70 and 71 of our Constitution, that the agreement shall not apply to utilization of marine genetic resources and digital sequence information collected or genetic before an agreement entry into force for Kenya. Number two, that the agreement shall not undermine existing international treaties, agreements or framework to which Kenya is party, including but not limited to United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea and the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. That the Ministry of Mining and Blue Economy and Fisheries and other relevant ministries and state agencies to submit a quarterly updates to the committee on, one, the implementation of the agreement, number two, the financial and non-financial benefits, and number three, the capacity building activities derived from the agreement. Honorable Speaker, that is what this treaty is all about, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at the coastal regions, we have what is called the coastal lines. In Kenya, we have about 200 nautical miles, which is our boundary. But beyond that, Madam Speaker, is what we are calling beyond the national jurisdiction. And this treaty basically was crafted or was developed to make sure that the areas which is beyond jurisdiction, if there is someone who wants to utilize that around that area, at least there is procedures, there are rules on how the resources which you get from there are going to benefit the member states. It also provides some regulations. If you have to get into that area which is beyond the jurisdiction, and you want to do some mining, Honorable Speaker, you have to carry out some environmental impact analysis, because by so doing, at least you must be approved that what you are going to do is not going to harm the marine life. And then the other thing, Honorable Speaker, is that these treaties, if we sign as a country, there is a lot of benefits. We are going to benefit from a technology transfer, because there are some other member states which are more advanced on issues of marine, the US, the UK. So for us, which we don't have that kind of a technology, Honorable Speaker, being a member of this treaty, we are going to benefit in that technology transfer. So, Madam Speaker, I think as a country we stand to benefit if we adopted this treaty, and I want to ask all my colleagues that we approve this treaty to be part of our laws, and we are going to benefit from our natural resources, especially in the marine areas. Madam Speaker, I want to move and ask the member, my honorable member of the committee, the member for Matuka, Engineer Kasim Sawa Dandasa, to second. from our natural resources, especially in the marine areas. Madam Speaker, I want to move and ask the member, my honorable member of the committee, the member for Matuka, Engineer Kasim Sawa Dandasa, to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, as
going to benefit from our natural resources, especially in the marine areas.
If we assent through this House by passing this motion, the country is bound to benefit immensely. If I'm to stand along the shores of the Indian Ocean in my constituency at Zote Beach or Diani Beach, which most of us know, and we face east, we will be looking at 12 nautical miles, which are supposed to be territorial part of Kenya, 12 nautical miles. Beyond the 12 nautical miles, we are having 200 nautical miles, which is part of Kenya in terms of exclusive economic zone. The 12 miles is territorial. It's part of the country Kenya. The remaining 200 miles is for purposes of economic and exclusive again to Kenya. This is an area where we can license other countries if they are to do any economic activities within the 200 nautical miles. But this agreement is this treaty is looking at beyond the 200 nautical miles, commonly referred to the high seas, or now the area beyond the national jurisdiction, whereby each country or any nation can exploit that area without referring to Kenya, though it's part of the Indian Ocean. With the level of development that we have, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, we are not able actually to monitor that area. As it stands, we are not even able to monitor effectively the EEZ, the 200 miles. And out of this treaty, it's the only way we're going to get an opportunity to actually know what is happening at the high seas, that is the area beyond the national jurisdiction. And since we don't have the economic power, we don't have the technology, it is only by us assenting to this treaty that we'll be able to actually benefit by the knowledge that is will be being harvested there, the natural resources that will be being harvested there. And since the oceans are for prosperity, even when the time comes that now we can also exploit that area, then we will be able actually to know how much fish, how much biodiversity there is in that area, and therefore benefit. Honorable members, without deliberating so much, now that we have a whole ministry of blue economy, this is the right time for us to ratify this treaty so that the country can benefit. There will even be a fund through this treaty whereby as a country will be able to actually apply and tap into once we are signatories to this treaty. With those few remarks, I second.
Honorable members, it's been exciting listening to this because my degree was in maritime law and I studied law of the sea. One of the subjects was memorizing the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. So it's wonderful to see that's been expanded after so many years of having it been signed in the first place. So with that, honorable members, it's my pleasure to propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation on its consideration of the agreement under the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond the national jurisdiction, BBN, agreement laid in the table of this House on Wednesday, 4th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act of 2012, approves the ratification of the agreement under the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction, BBN agreement. Okay. Members who want to contribute, just press the intervention button. Honorable Peter Kaluma, I know we were running the Law of the Sea program together.
Speaker, thank you very much. The many things you taught me at the University of Nairobi was public international law, more so the law of the sea. And so, Honorable Speaker, I understand the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which you taught us was ratified in 1982. Honorable members, the sea territories are delimited in a particular way. 20 nautical miles from the shoreline is the territorial sea. And that part of the sea called the territorial sea is treated as part of the state from which the sea moves. After that, Honorable Speaker, 24 nautical miles from the territorial sea is the contiguous zone. It is called the contiguous zone because it is a zone where if there were war, it is a place to which again a territorial state is entitled for purposes of its exclusive war engagements. Honorable Speaker, 200 nautical miles from the shoreline of a territorial state into the sea is the exclusive economic zone. And that exclusive economic zone, Honorable Speaker, will mean that for purposes of economic exploitation, and I'm emphasizing this, Honorable Speaker, because we came from the Blue Economy Madaraka Day celebration. And you get people largely talking about fish and fish stock. The exclusive economic zone is the entitlement of a territorial state bordering a sea for purposes of exclusive economic exploitation. So whether it is fish stock, whether it is marine life, whether it is minerals prospected and discovered under those waters, they exclusively belong to the state. I'm emphasizing that to make the point, Honorable Speaker, that when you go deep into 200 nautical miles, I can tell you if you put that water area together, it means nearly a third of the territorial boundary of Kenya is within the sea for purposes of exclusive economic zone. Honorable Speaker, under the exclusive economic zone is the continental shelf. The continental shelf entitlement of a territorial state also goes up to 200 nautical miles, but with the agreement of the world bodies, it can be extended up to 350 nautical miles. And let me confirm to the House that for purposes of the continental shelf, we've gotten the permission of the relevant committee and international body, and now we stretch up to 350 nautical miles. That means anything falling within the continental shelf from across the Indian Ocean can be exploited again exclusively by Kenya following the agreement of the international community up to that level. Honorable Speaker, beyond the exclusive economic zone and the continental shelf is the high seas. And Honorable Speaker, you know, that is the area that we say is res communis. It falls within the right of the entire global community. And that is the area, Honorable Speaker, this treaty we are seeking to ratify is concerned about. There have been cases, Honorable Speaker, where highly industrialized nations, you go to China, you go to Japan, you go to those countries which manufacture or own big ships, they are trawling in these res communis, the IC areas, or those areas not falling within the exclusive jurisdiction of the territorial state. And what has been happening, Honorable Speaker, is that when you go trawling, you are searching for a specific, for instance, fish species, but you catch everything the nets will go with. And essentially, what you don't need, you just throw them away. So out of those practices, we are killing a lot of marine life, and then there is need, that area being a res communis, to be protected by this convention whose ratification, our agreement as Parliament, is needed for. I wanted to end, because of time, Honorable Speaker, by emphasizing the point that if you look at states like Kenya, Honorable Speaker, even going up to 50 nautical miles is still a problem because of the sizes of the ships we have and the level of technologies. We need to up our ability as a nation by investing in proper ships at our navies and at other levels so that we can protect marine life within those areas. But the areas beyond our territorial water boundaries are areas which we must protect under agreements such as this, which can, restrict these states with the power from finishing the marine life, from ensuring that we have waters which are sustainably used for people today, available for our children tomorrow, and available for our children's children in the future. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much, and I request the approval of my colleagues for this convention, whose being here confirms, Honorable Speaker, that indeed nothing can have the force of law in this country unless it is a provision coming from this House. So may we signify our approval so that this convention is ratified, it becomes part of our law, and the protection of those areas falling under the remit of res communis is guaranteed under this agreement. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank you for giving me this opportunity. And Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Honorable Ali Hassan Joho, the CS for Blue Economy, for bringing this agreement before this House. Mr. Speaker, the BBJN agreement is an agreement under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction. Mr. Speaker, I am a member of the Parliamentarians for Global Action, or PGA, where I have served as executive in the Executive Council, and now currently a member of the Council, and also the current chair of the Kenyan chapter. And Mr. Speaker, we have worked very, very strongly around this convention and on the issues of conservation of the oceans and the high seas in general. And therefore, the bringing of this convention to be ratified by the House is very welcome. Mr. Speaker, the agreement addresses 4 main issues. It addresses the marine genetic resources, including the fair and equitable sharing of benefits in the areas that Honorable Kaluma calls the res communis. Mr. Speaker, because of the limited resources, there's always been a perception that the resources in the waters are limitless or infinite. But time has shown that they actually can be misused and can be exhausted, and therefore it's very important that not only that they should be conserved, but that there is equitable sharing, because there has been an imbalance sharing with developed countries having more advantage than the developing countries. Yet we know that if indeed there is a place that still has a lot of resources, it's the high oceans, the high seas. Mr. Speaker, it also talks about measures such as area-based management tools, including marine protected areas, and especially again for ensuring that we conserve and expand what we already have there. Mr. Speaker, it talks about environmental impact assessments and capacity building and the transfer of marine technology that the mover mentioned when he was talking about. It also talks about cross-cutting issues such as establishing a funding mechanism and setting up institutional arrangement, including the conference of parties and various subsidiary bodies, a clearinghouse, and a secretariat. Mr. Speaker, it indeed is a very good convention, and I do support. Mr. Speaker, however, I'm concerned about one thing, that if you look at this convention and a lot of the things that are coming here, the focus is very strongly on the high seas and the oceans. And sometimes we forget our internal waters. And one, I think it's when the mover was commenting, or the person who was seconding, that commented that it is important that we domesticate, once we ratify, that we domesticate by providing laws that will be speaking to the same issues as what is contained here. Mr. Speaker, I would want to encourage the committee that when they'll be looking at those laws, nothing stops them from expanding into our internal waters and specifically into Lake Victoria. Mr. Speaker, yesterday as a committee on defense, we had an engagement with an agency that works with our international boundaries. And they were talking about boundary demarcations. But if you actually look at a lot of the conflicts that happen in our whether internal waters or the high seas, the conflicts with other nations is generally about resources. And two of our islands were mentioned, Remba and Ringiti. And Remba and Ringiti were mentioned because they are actually very critical islands in terms of demarcating our boundaries. But, Mr. Speaker, those are some of the islands that always have a lot of conflicts with the Tanzania and Uganda on fisheries. And, Mr. Speaker, it is not a conflict because of political issues. It's a conflict on fishing. It's a conflict on resources. And therefore, if you are able to replicate in our internal waters a convention that is similar to this one, or even there's nothing stopping us, even amending the Fisheries Act, to bring something of this sort. The only reason why the Act would be limiting, it's because the Act will only talk to Kenya. But if we provide a treaty, then it will actually deal with our neighbors as well. So I would want to encourage the committee to look at this. And Mr. Speaker, even as I complete, Honorable Kaluma and the speaker before you were really boasting how they have done international law and dealt with ISIS. I can also boast that me and Honorable Karoli here were students of environmental law at our master's level, and we studied environmental law at a master's level. But do I say, Mr. Speaker, and I'm surprised that Honorable Karoli is not keen on speaking. But we are students of environmental law.
What's your point of order, Honorable Kaluma? Yeah. What's out of order?
Honorable Speaker, I didn't just study public international law. I'm the first lawyer in this country to specialize in law of the sea. In fact, I assisted our Navy in delimiting our sea boundaries when Abu Rafruf was still the Navy commandant. So Honorable Mili should confine herself to environmental issues within the sea areas.
What's your point
not
of order?
talking, not knowing I'm a specialist in that area.
What's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Member for Homa Bay is actually misleading the House. The premier mind on law of the sea was the late Akicho Kola, Deputy Solicitor General, who attended all the negotiations until the law of the sea was signed in 1982.
Yes.
It is Akicho Kola. And the one speaking is the author of the National Environmental Management and Coordination Act. So stop misleading the House.
The Honorable Kaluma.
Honorable information. Honorable Speaker, Okola participated in coming up with the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. But at the very heart of that convention was Dr. Androniko Oduogo Adede from Kwabuaen, the Homa Bay. And that is something for which he is credited. And Dr. Androniko Oduogo Adede was my master's lecturer when I was studying law of the sea. I think that is a point Honorable Karoli was forgetting.
Mr. Speaker, I have the floor. Mr. Speaker, I have the floor. And I want to educate Honorable Kaluma and tell him that there's a reason that I'm a senior lawyer. The Honorable Dr. Andriko Dede that is so proudly talking about was my boss in Letwal International. So don't even try.
Yes.
We've been there, done that, and got a t-shirt. So don't even try.
Majority Leader. Majority Leader. Give the mic to the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just want to inform the House that the Honorable Kaluma is from Homa Bay County. The Honorable Mili Odhiambo is from Homa Bay County. The Honorable Karoli Omondi is from Homa Bay County. And you can hear the debate is about the law of the sea, environmental law, and the battle of wits of great men and women, great scholars from the county of Homa Bay. And Honorable Speaker, you know, we were in Homa Bay over the weekend, and the people of Homa Bay are great people. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, let me also assert that the Honorable Mili Mabona Odhiambo, being a law student and having studied environmental law, Part of what this treaty seeks to look at are issues touching on environment in the sea. Therefore, the law of the sea, the law of the environment merge and converge. Whether they converge in Homa Bay or in the National Assembly, it's converging and we all move together, happy.
Honorable KJ.
Mr. Speaker, I was of a different opinion, Mr. Speaker. On an afternoon when we have very serious business to transact, I wanted you to find this debate totally out of order, because the display here is a display of something that is well known to this country. The tyranny of brains, the tyranny of Akili from Nyanza. And it has been displayed fully. We do not need to belabor the point. We know we have some fine brains from that area in the House. And we also know that there are and folk bearers who are also...
Order. Honorable KJ. Order. The chair assumes that some of those brilliant state of the current intellectual dissipation can also, basically permeate to the members, the overall House here, so that you, whatever you want to call it, I remember they used to say through osmosis or whatever it is, whatever it is, but order, Honorable KJ. Are you going to get your time to conclude? So this is it's well accepted. We are learning. We are learning a lot from these fine minds from Homa Bay. So proceed, Honorable Miri Odhiambo. I also did public international law. I did law of the sea, but nowhere near where the specialization.
Then we can allow you to stay in our circles.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, before I conclude, I just wanted to say that I'm also currently doing my PhD in Daystar University. Excellent. And I am dealing with the issue of development, leadership, and on the issue of leadership and governance. And one of the things that I'm debating about, studying about, is whether there's something unique about Homa Bay. Mr. Speaker, the late General Ogola he came from Sia, but grew up in Homa Bay. CS Education, the current CS of Education, same primary school with me, Homa Bay Primary. PS Omolo, Homa Bay. Tomboya, Homa Bay. I can go on and on, but do I say? We are serious. I can see the chairman budget now is trying to purport to have a girlfriend from Homa Bay, especially Homa Bay town. And I know Honorable Kaluma can now be proud as the member of parliament for Homa Bay, because we are serious. But that aside, Mr. Speaker, what I was actually saying is that it is true, just as even Honorable Ichung'wah said, because we are dealing with the high seas. But we sometimes forget the inland waters. Yes. The inland waters that has produced these great men and women like myself. And because we are told when you're growing up, you're told if you eat fish, you become completely brilliant. And I would want to encourage the committee, the relevant committee, to look, whether it is through the amendment of the Fisheries Act, which I don't think is very appropriate, but it's towards moving a more bilateral agreement between Uganda and Tanzania. And the agents we met yesterday has already agreed that they'll be willing to work with us, because theirs is limited to boundaries. But we want to look at the issue of shared resources. The same that we are having for the high seas, we need to have for inland waters, so that we don't have our fishermen taken to Uganda, forced to eat raw fish with all our intelligence, and also forced to pay fines because they are fighting over the resources in Lake Victoria. Otherwise, with those few remarks, I beg to support.
Yes, the honorable member for Ndiwa, indeed Ndiwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The learned friends have talked about the anatomy and physiology of the sea and the boundaries. But I just want to say that in a global village, some households are bigger than others. And what this treaty is trying to do to us is to bring order to the global village. You can't do business if there is no legal framework that protects the little and guides the greatest. There is also an issue of capacity building here, transfer of knowledge and technologies. I think we will benefit as a country from this. Together we can address challenges. There's a lot of challenges when you come to the sea, especially those who have high technologies, big machines, and scoop everything. If uncontrolled, it has been said here, they will take all our resources and we can't do anything. Sensitivity to environment has been well spoken about. And of course, we have a share on this. And this treaty will bring everybody to order so that we can protect our environment. But who would like to be exploited? And who would like to get into conflicts with big powers? And then lastly, Mr. Speaker, which is very vital in this treaty, is the tapping into funds that can also help us as a small nation. So in all, I support the treaty. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also rise to support the approval for ratification of this agreement on the biological diversity of areas beyond our national jurisdiction. Honorable Speaker, as the mover said, this agreement was adopted in June of 2023 in New York. And so far, Honorable Speaker, from what the mover has said, a total of 100 and almost 123 countries have signed this agreement, and about 26 have ratified this agreement, Honorable Speaker. And we should not be late, Honorable Speaker, because as has been said by the mover, and as was noted by the committee, we, as a country, stand to benefit a lot. As much as, Honorable Speaker, as with the signing of this treaty and its ratification, we also be bound to pay certain fees, especially towards running of the Secretariat, but we also stand to benefit in terms of, Honorable Speaker, the things that we will get as a country that come to nations that border the seas and among developing countries, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this agreement, as the mover has said, has a compendium of issues that include, as I said when the Honorable Millie was speaking, environmental impact assessments. And that's what I was saying, there was also a lot of environmental law in it. It also includes marine genetic resources, including fair and equitable benefit sharing. And Honorable Speaker, as the mover and the chair of the committee had said, this agreement covers the area that is beyond the 200 nautical miles from our coastline between countries that share the seas or the ocean. And there is that area which would be naturally be constituted as no man's land. And if there is no treaty or agreement that governs that area that is beyond our national boundaries, Honorable Speaker, or beyond the 200 nautical miles, then that space is bound to be abused by many people. Honorable Speaker, in order to ensure that if there are any benefits, whether it's minerals, whether it's fishing, that is being done along those areas, then the countries that border those areas benefit and share the benefits of the whatever resources, that marine resources that be in that area, equitably and fairly. And that is what this treaty seeks to establish, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, upon ratification again, Honorable Speaker, we may need, or we actually need to align all our laws, Honorable Speaker, our regulations and administrative procedures to be in line with this agreement. And I want that to be a challenge to our committee on blue economy and also our JLAC and JLAC committees, Honorable Speaker, to ensure that upon ratification by Kenya of this agreement, we have aligned all our laws, regulations, and other administrative procedures in line with this agreement. And that includes legislation on environmental protection, ocean governance, and biodiversity in the sea, Honorable Speaker, because as we said, it is also possible for anyone to argue that beyond the 200 nautical miles, since it's no man's land, people can come from anywhere and come and dump things that will pollute the sea and therefore pollute our environment. And therefore we must also accordingly align our laws to ensure that our laws cover even those areas. Of course, in close concurrence with our neighbors whom we share the seas and other boundaries with, Honorable Speaker. And in those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support. Honorable Speaker, a lot has been said about this bill. I do not want to say the obvious. I'm sure somebody else will say it, because I know the member for Alego Usonga can see him moving in his seat because he is very eager to move the budget estimates report. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to support.
Yes, what's your point of order? What's your point of order?
One more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I thought I'm the one with the mic.
You were on a point of order?
Yes.
And this is to conclude the debate. Can I allow the Honorable Russell just to take 1 minute and say something?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'll take less than 2 minutes to contribute to this very important debate. I think this particular agreement is profound. This is about addressing the EEZ that stretches 250 nautical miles outside our territorial waters. The future of resources on Earth will actually be in the seas, or in the high seas for that matter. It is not just about an agreement. I think it is about how we are likely to exploit marine resources, not by using just our resources, but using resources of partners. There'll be exploitation of minerals, such as oils, such as whatever will be found in the deep sea, which will be highly beneficial to Kenya. Honorable Speaker, this is also about the freedom of the sea, that major world operators of ships and also of major navies are likely to use our EEZ. Then they are likely to cooperate with us to be able to do that. There must also be cooperation in the Indian Ocean Rim, where we occupy a sizable part of the East African or the Horn of Africa coastline. Finally, Honorable Speaker, they say that the next frontier of conflict will be in the sea, because every nation, many having exploited to the full extent what is on land, they'll be moving to the high seas. So for that reason, this particular agreement is very important, and Kenya must really be prepared in terms of resources, in terms of military power, to be able to protect what rightfully belongs to this country. With those remarks, I support. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, what's your point of order, Honorable?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, considering that the blue economy is also in the budget, and I know those who would want to contribute on the same can still contribute on the blue economy, which is still part of the budget, would I be in order to call that the MUFA be asked called to reply, and we'll continue the debate, because the blue economy is there, the sea, and it's part of the budget, so we can proceed with it after the MUFA of the budget and appropriation, my chair.
Honorable members, I now call upon the mover to reply. As many of the appearance say aye. Aye. As many of contrary appearance say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank all the colleagues who contributed to this motion for the ratification of BBNJ agreement. And Mr. Speaker, I want to take note of what the Honorable Millie said about there is need as we ratify also treaties, international treaties, there is need to have even our own, say, East Africa treaties on fisheries, so that the shared resource like we have of Lake Victoria, Honorable Speaker, because of what is happening, we have seen many of our fishermen being arrested on the Ugandan side, and there is some issues around Migingo. If we can have even an agreement between Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and all those who are using Lake Victoria waters, I think it is something us as a committee, Honorable Speaker, we are going to take it up with the State Department. Mr. Speaker, so I don't want to repeat myself. I reply. Thank you.
Next order. You have to put the question.
Order number 12, motion, consideration of the budget estimates for the financial year 2025-2026, general debate.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure and the medium term for the financial year 2025-2026 laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 4th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and Standing Order 239. 1. Approves the issuance of a sum of 2.538,293,978,440 from the consolidated fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2026 in respect to the votes contained in the first schedule, subject to paragraph 3, Committee of Supply. 2. Makes the policy and financial resolutions contained in the second schedule to the order paper. And 3. Orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the state budget estimates with respect to each vote and program in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order 240. Consideration of the estimates in the Committee of Supply. Honorable Speaker, I would like to, first of all, as I move, begin by thanking members of Budget and Appropriations Committee for their diligence in processing the estimates that were brought before us. Honorable Speaker, budget making is a sole mandate of this House, and all members of this House participate in budget making through their departmental committees. Honorable Speaker, in the reviewing of these estimates, we listen to departmental committees represented by their chairmen. And I also want to thank them, Honorable Speaker, because departmental committees brought to us very, very progressive highlights of the programs that the government is implementing in various departments. Honorable Speaker, in the course of processing the estimates, we were able to listen to proposals from the departmental committees, some proposing changes, some staying the changes. Honorable Speaker, it is not in the DNA of Budget Committee to refuse to adopt changes brought by members of this House through their committees. I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that as we are processing the estimates, there are some changes that the committee did not allow, but 99% of the changes were allowed. Some of the proposals that were not allowed by the committee involve reallocations of funds meant for fertilizer subsidy, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, as one of the cornerstones of this country, Honorable Speaker, agriculture remains one of the anchors of our economy. And even as I will talk later about some of the programs that have been funded, we did not believe that reallocating resources from the fertilizer subsidy was necessary. The other area that my committee did not adopt had to do with the reallocations touching on coffee cherry fund. Honorable Speaker, coffee is becoming one of the most strategic cash crops of our country, leading in foreign exchange, and also incomes to farmers is substantial. As a matter of fact, as I will be discussing some of the strategic allocations, you will notice that in one of the allocations, coffee development is one of the areas that we are putting more resources. Honorable Speaker, as I go to the content of the report, I would like to say that and thank National Treasury. Honorable Speaker, for the first time, we have revenue projections of National Treasury that is less than what has been projected by our own Parliamentary Budget Office. Honorable Speaker, Parliamentary Budget Office, our own, is a premier think tank. Actually, in this region, our Parliamentary Budget Office is leading Parliamentary Budget Office. In fact, in this region, regional parliaments are coming to us for benchmarking within that space. And our Budget Office has been leading in helping the regional parliaments to develop some of their ways of running budgets. And so, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank our Parliamentary Budget Office and National Treasury, because for the first time we are aligning our thinking. The thinking within Parliamentary Budget Office is that higher revenue projections has not been tenable. Even as we talk, Honorable Speaker, we are not being able to meet our revenue projections because we over-project. But for the first time, Honorable Speaker, the revenue projections given to us by Treasury is less than what our own PBU has projected. It means, therefore, Honorable Speaker, that we are making a more realistic budget, because revenue collection projected is what will determine what kind of programs you want to implement. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the CS Treasury, the new CS Treasury, because he's giving us a budget that is more realistic. Also, Honorable Speaker, that we are seeking to live within the confines of our means, that going forward, public debt is not going to be a solution for our problems. In the past, Honorable Speaker, we have been running very huge budgets and not factoring the fact that we have limited revenue sources. We end up running a very huge fiscal deficit. In this budget, Honorable Speaker, the fiscal deficit that we are applying is 4.5% to GDP. Remember, Honorable Speaker, that when we did supplementary 2 here, our fiscal deficit was 5.2. So we have moved downwards by over 0.7 basis points. So, Honorable Speaker, this shows that for the first time, the reality of broad-based government, which is more inclusive, approaching development in a more inclusive way, is becoming a reality. Honorable Speaker, as I move into some of the strategic areas where we have been able to put more resources. Honorable Speaker, as I said earlier, agriculture remains the most important cornerstone for this economy. And in these estimates, Honorable Speaker, we have continued as usual to appropriate resources for fertilizer subsidy. Fertilizer subsidy is the reason, Honorable Speaker, that we have been able to increase food production in the country. As we talk, Honorable Speaker, we have been able to produce more food. And that is the reason why the cost of living has come down and even inflation has been managed. So, Honorable Speaker, this budget appropriates 8 billion shillings for fertilizer subsidy. Honorable Speaker, you have recently seen the reforms that have been initiated in the sugar sector. To support those reforms, Honorable Speaker, this budget allocates 2 billion to support those reforms so that the sugar sector becomes profitable. For a long time, the sugar sector has been a loss-making endeavor where farmers deliver their cane to the millers, and in the end, it is the government that ends up paying those farmers. Honorable Speaker, those reforms that have been initiated are being funded to the tune of 2 billion so that that sector becomes self-reliant. Honorable Speaker, I mentioned about coffee share fund. Coffee has become a strategic cash crop. In fact, Honorable Speaker, when we went round to engage in public participation, in the area of Nyanza, in the area of Rift Valley, in the area of Western, most farmers are abandoning their traditional cash crops and they want to move into coffee sector. As I said, the coffee sector is giving more returns, and also as a foreign exchange earner. Foreign exchange, Honorable Speaker, is going to be very, very important for our economy going forward. And therefore, most farmers are moving into coffee. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, Coffee Share Fund is an investment which this Parliament has done in the past. It's in the wisdom of this Parliament again that we continue to fund Coffee Share Fund, and we have allocated 2 billion shillings towards that. Honorable Speaker, I also mentioned that most farmers in those regions are trying to move away from other cash crops. They are engaging in what the budget report calls crop diversification. So in order to achieve that, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 2 billion shillings to help those farmers in those regions, farmers who want to move away from their traditional cash crops like maize, they want to go into coffee. We want to give them support so that they can be able to fully engage and support. Honorable Speaker, we need about 2.7 metric tons of coffee for export and for this market. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, we want to urge more farmers to go into coffee farming. Honorable Speaker, livestock insurance is also a very important sector that we believe we need to fund substantially And in this budget, we have allocated 2 billion shillings for livestock insurance. Honorable Speaker, on the area of education, capitation still remains one of the biggest items in this budget. And this budget has allocated 90 billion shillings for school capitation, for JSS, for secondary education, and for primary education. Honorable Speaker, you heard about the uproar that Treasury did not allocate resources for examination. Honorable Speaker, in this budget, you have allocated 5.9 billion for examinations. Honorable Speaker, examination is a process, and it starts with procuring of exam materials. It goes into logistics later on, and lastly into payment of examiners. Honorable Speaker, the total vote for all that program is 12 billion. But for the start, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 5.9 billion so that this process goes on. In the course of time, this Parliament will be able to appropriate the other resources to support it fully. Honorable Speaker, we have resources for recruitment of 20,000 more JSS interns in this budget at 7.5 billion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, in the area of health, Honorable Speaker, we have appropriated resources for procurement of vaccines. Honorable Speaker, vaccines, as you know, is very, very important, that this country must be self-reliant in the area of vaccines. We have appropriated 4.6 billion for that. Honorable Speaker, we are building a cancer center at Kisii Level 5 Referral Hospital that is going to cost 1 billion from this budget. Honorable Speaker, we have UHC health workers that have been demonstrating across the country for the last, I think, 1 year. Honorable Speaker, it is the determination of this House that those workers be now converted into permanent and pensionable terms. And in this budget, we have allocated 6.1 billion towards that. Honorable Speaker, this will be done only after thorough audit of the number of workers that exist. Because, Honorable Speaker, when these workers were hired, the number was 8,500. We have since established, Honorable Speaker, that some of these workers left the service, some counties hired them into permanent and pensionable terms, and the numbers have come down substantially. So, Honorable Speaker, the first thing that we have said here is that the Ministry of Health must first of all engage in thorough audit so that they'll be able to tell us how many of these workers are in their service before their contracts is turned into permanent and pensionable terms. Honorable Speaker, for a long time, the country is benefiting from rain-fed agriculture. And this has done so well, especially in the recent past, when we have been favored by too much rainfall. But, Honorable Speaker, this is not really reliable all the time. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 15 billion shillings to support irrigation programs across the country. We would like various parts of the country to engage in small-time irrigation projects that can continue to help the economy, even if we are suffering from lack of rainfall. Honorable Speaker, in the area of industry, the County Aggregation Industrial Parks, which is a partnership between national government and counties, is a critical program that is intended to help regions harness and develop products that they produce. So, Honorable Speaker, in this budget, we have continued to allocate more resources towards this program, 4.6 billion that is allocated towards that, so that those programs in the counties, they can be concluded so that our people can be able to benefit from those programs. Honorable Speaker, there are so many Kenyans that are still landless, that do not have, government cannot be able to accommodate, give them land where they can be able to act their living. In this budget, we have allocated about 4 billion towards resettlement of landless Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, in the area of blue economy, the 6 counties in the coast and the 4 counties along the Lake Victoria have also benefited. An allocation of 5 billion shillings to help those fisher folks around the areas at Lake Victoria, that is Siaya County, Homa Bay County, Kisumu County, Migori County, and the other 6 counties in Coast, Kwale, Kilifi, yes, Busia also. Thank you. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Busia. So this allocation of 5 billion shillings is going to support the blue economy projects along Lake Victoria, and also along the Indian Ocean. Honorable Speaker, we have allocated resources for the transformative affordable housing program, which, as you know, Honorable Speaker, is intended to ensure that poor Kenyans afford decent housing. This is one of the programs, one of the major programs of the better bottom-up economic transformation agenda. And this program is successful. Honorable Speaker, if you saw last week when the President was in Mukuru launching the program, it was beautiful. We believe that this program needs to continue, and this House has allocated, we have allocated about 95 billion towards that. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, I would like to say, Honorable Speaker, that we have a broad-based government that is inclusive. And Honorable Speaker, if you go through the budget estimates, you will see that we have distributed programs across the country. There is no part of the country that has been left behind. Even when you look at the infrastructure from Northeastern, from Garissa, from Mandera, we have at least a program in those areas. And this is the promise that the President gave. And we, as proponents of broad-based government, we want to say that we're living to that promise. And this budget is the first, the first of many that is going to restore hope to Kenyans and ensure that Kenyans feel that they are part and parcel of this country. Honorable Speaker, I want to urge members of this House to study the report and support it because the report is huge. It has many other programs which I'm not able to highlight here in this opportunity. Let members support this budget proposal, which is before us, so that in the end, we will be able to have a more progressive country. Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
It be seconded by who? Seconded by who?
Honorable Speaker, I would like to ask the Majority Leader to second.
Proceed, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And allow me, Honorable Speaker, to first thank the Chair, our new Chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and all the members of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, together with our chairs of the departmental committees and the entire membership of the departmental committees, and especially the very diligent ones like Honorable Nyikar, who is still here, to ensure that whatever he took before the Budget and Appropriations Committee has been considered. Honorable Speaker, it is worth noting, I can hear others protesting like the Honorable KJ, in charge of the CII committee, to ensure that the digital economy is also well catered for. But Honorable Speaker, I was congratulating and thanking these members because when we usually break for the long recess, these members that sit in the departmental committees and those who sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, this long May recess usually have no recess. And they put in a lot of their time away from their families, their constituents, to sit and deliberate on these budget estimates. Honorable Speaker, as the Chair has ably put it, these budget estimates, as they came to us, Honorable Speaker, come in the backdrop of a time that is both promising and one that where we are coming from a very difficult period economically. And that, Honorable Speaker, you can see from the revenue projections from what we had last year, and with the challenges that we've had this last financial year that is now ending this June. Honorable Speaker, you remember this is a year that we had a very false start at the beginning of the year with the collapse of the finance bill. And eventually when we rescued the revenue-raising measures that were in the finance bill of 2024, at the beginning of December last year, we have only had about 5 months to be able to realize the revenue projections that had been envisaged as we prepared the budget estimates for the last budget of the 2024-2025 financial year. Honorable Speaker, we are fortunate that this year, Honorable Speaker, we are starting off at a time when our economy is not doing very badly as it were before, and there are less disruptions, Honorable Speaker, to our economy. The rains have done us a little bit of justice, Honorable Speaker, and therefore also food production in the backdrop of the subsidized fertilizer program, which has been provided for adequate resources in these budget estimates, have augmented our productivity in terms of food production. And when a nation is food secure, then the economy is naturally bound to do better because we have always prided ourselves as being an agro-based economy. And that means, Honorable Speaker, that when agriculture is doing well, the entire economy naturally will do well. And that has been reflected, Honorable Speaker, with the improving prices of our food items, rather the food items whose prices have been going down for consumers, and also better returns for farmers, be it farmers in the dairy sector who are now, through KCC, enjoying at least a minimum of 50 shillings per litre of their milk delivered to KCC. Not to mention also, Honorable Speaker, farmers in Embu who are happy. And I can see Honorable Mukunji smiling because he knows farmers in Manyata now are happy lots, benefiting from very good coffee prices, the best in the last 10 years, Honorable Speaker. And this has been as a result of progressive and very well-focused economic policies that this government or this administration chose to embark on in the year 2022, away from the populist things that people say out there in funerals and in weddings and other political rallies, Honorable Speaker. These policies that have been implemented under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda are bearing fruit and bearing good fruit for the people of Kenya. Some, of course, Honorable Speaker, as we said earlier, may not have been very popular with the people, but it is not always that true that what is popular is correct and what is right is popular. And I am glad that this administration chose to do that which is right, not necessarily popular. But the popularity of those policies now can be seen, Honorable Speaker, including the huge investment that has been made in the housing sector, Honorable Speaker, with the implementation of the housing agenda in this country. Many people doubted whether this would be a reality, but with the continuous handover of completed units, the 1,200 units in Mukuru, Honorable Speaker, caused a huge frenzy in the country because many people were made to believe by naysayers that the housing agenda would never be, and you'll never see those houses. And people believed that those houses were being built for a select few, and probably expected that these members of parliament, governors, ministers would be owners of those houses. Today, we have seen Mama Samakis in Homa Bay, Mama Mbogas in Kisumu, border riders and hawkers in Nairobi, in Mukuru, being owners, proud home owners, Honorable Speaker. And there is no greater dignity that we can give to our people other than giving them the opportunity to become home owners and become economically stable, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this budget estimates, Honorable Speaker, come with revenue projections, including A&A or appropriations in aid that are to the tune of 3.3 trillion shillings. And to be precise, 3.316.9 billion or 3.3 trillion, Honorable Speaker. And that constitutes about 17.2% of our GDP. On the other side, Honorable Speaker, we have expenditure estimates of 4.239.9 trillion or 4,239.9 billion. That's 4.2 trillion. That tells you, Honorable Speaker, ahead of anything else, you're already in a deficit of close to 876 billion. And that constitutes, again, a fiscal deficit of about 4.5% of our GDP in the next financial year. Honorable Speaker, I'm mentioning these figures because it's important, even as we embark on what the Speaker this afternoon has read out to us in his communication on a mediation process with our colleagues in the Senate on the division of revenue, that we mediate. And I want to take this opportunity to implore on the governors, our senators, that even as we go into that mediation process, we bear in mind the kind of figures we are talking about. Because it's very easy, Honorable Speaker, to throw around figures of 480, 500 billion and say this is what should go to the counties. And I've just said this afternoon, Honorable Speaker, in an interview with one of our media stations, that we all support devolution. And we support devolution and would all want to even see figures to the tune of 600-700 billion at one point in time going to our devolved units in the counties. Even as we call for accountability on how that money is utilized in our counties. Because again, a lot of this money is being looted in the counties, Honorable Speaker, and we must also as we devolve money, ask our county governors to be accountable of the monies that goes to them in the counties. Because it is one thing to demand for money, but it's a totally different subject to be accountable of that money, Honorable Speaker. There are counties in this country, Honorable Speaker, that year in, year out, for the last 10 years, Honorable Speaker, of devolution, 10 years plus, have benefited from huge amounts, hundreds of billions, but the people still languish in poverty with no health cover in their counties, Honorable Speaker, with no water, with no access through roads, Honorable Speaker, yet they have churned out governors year in, year out, and governors growing richer by the day. And you have seen even those who are being arrested protesting and burning cars of EACC because they do not want to be held to account. But we must tell EACC, DCI, and all other agencies, people must be held to account. If members of parliament are held to account over NGCDF that they do not implement, but if there is an issue with your NGCDF, the headlines, the banners will be so-and-so member of parliament, so much money has been lost in your constituency because you are the member of parliament, yet you do not in any way implement the programs under NGCDF. What of county governors, Honorable Speaker, who are executive members of government and actually implement projects in those counties, Honorable Speaker, even with the rampant looting that is there? Honorable Speaker was saying that for us to be aware that with a budget deficit of 876, that's close to 900 billion shillings. It's only 23.9 billion short of 900 billion shillings. 4.5% of our gross domestic product. Then it means, Honorable Speaker, we must be careful what we commit to even now as we go into mediation. Because should we say that we will need to raise another 60 billion shillings to be able to raise 465 billion for our county governments, Honorable Speaker, it means that 60 billion has to go to increase this budget deficit from 876 to now 940 billion. That, Honorable Speaker, will mean that you have to borrow more. That borrowing comes to at a cost, not just to government, but also to the investing community or our business community, our traders who have to borrow and now compete with government, with our commercial banks, because government will go to borrow from the commercial banks. We will also, as business people, go to borrow from those banks. And therefore, it becomes counterproductive. And that is why, if we have to manage our public debt, Honorable Speaker, we must be able to rationalize both our expenditure, even as we enhance our revenue-raising measures, Honorable Speaker. And I know we'll be speaking to our revenue-raising measures when we come to the discussion on our finance bill later this month, Honorable Speaker, in the course of this session. But, Honorable Speaker, let me also mention, because I've mentioned the figures that we have projected for, the overall figures in terms of our revenue projections and expenditure. For our county governments, Honorable Speaker, these revenue estimates, estimates have a figure which we have put in the Division of Revenue Bill that we have sent to the Senate, and they amended to 465, and we put a figure of 405.1 billion. Honorable Speaker, that is not all the money that we are sending to our counties. Because there is usually this misconception that it is only the money that goes through the shareable formula, the vertical division of revenue, through the division of revenue, that goes to our counties. What we are sending to our counties is this 405, plus the additional allocations, another close to 70 billion shillings. In actual sense, it's about 69.8 billion. So if you aggregate the two figures, 405.1 and 69.8 billion, you are talking about almost 474 billion going to our counties. Therefore, even as we talk about figures, 465 billion, let us also now from here speak about the 474 billion that is going to our county governments, including the shareable revenue through the division of revenue and the additional county allocations and grants of 69.8 billion. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I'm saying that so that even as we mediate, Honorable Speaker, we do this with some sense of balance and rationalization so that we do not sink our country into further debt. Honorable Speaker, again, in support of our judiciary, the Budget and Appropriations Committee has been very magnanimous in supporting other arms of government. Because So much money is going to the executive. A lot of money is also going to the judiciary and also to Parliament. And the Budget and Appropriations Committee has been very rational in ensuring that the judiciary is also well-resourced to be able to actualize on delivery of justice to Kenyans, and they are allocating them about 27 billion shillings, part of which about 0.8 goes to the Judicial Service Commission, and 23.8 billion for recurrent, and another 2 billion shillings for development to ensure that all the courts that are stalled around the country are also being, they're able to complete those courts, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, since I mentioned Honorable Nyikala was among the very diligent members who are in this House as the chair of the Health Committee, Professor Nyikala will tell you that part of the challenges that have bedeviled the Social Health Authority and implementation of Taifa Care has been inadequate resources going to the Primary Health Care Fund. Honorable Speaker, I am happy that in these estimates, I can now see that they include 13 billion shillings that are going to the Primary Health Care Fund, another 10 billion shillings going to the Emergency, Chronic and Critical Illnesses Fund, another 23 billion that goes to HIV, TB, and malaria-related global funds, and another 16.6 billion for the Universal Health Coverage Coordination, and another 10 billion shillings towards the support for national immunization efforts. I mention these figures, Honorable Speaker, because you know what has happened in the United States of America and the global funds that are coming from USAID, and we have made sure that we are now providing and resourcing our health ministry adequately to ensure that the programs under HIV, tuberculosis, malaria, and the coordination of the national immunization efforts do not stall because we are not getting money from our donor community, and that is why those amounts have been put there to ensure that that works. Honorable Speaker, in closing, Honorable Speaker, SHA, or the Universal Health Coverage under Taifa Care, is working. And it is working well for many, many Kenyans. I am so happy that today Kenyans do not need to be told by politicians whether SHA is working. They are testifying in their backgrounds, in their villages, how their neighbor, how their relatives have had their bills catered for. I want to tell Kenyans now, with another 13 billion shillings going to the Primary Healthcare Fund, all they need to do is to walk into your primary healthcare facility. So long as your governor has enlisted that facility under SHA,
just give him.
Honorable Speaker, I was saying any governor who has enlisted at primary healthcare facility, be it a level 1, level 2, level 3 hospital, under the Universal Health Coverage or the Social Health Authority, any Kenyan within that locality can now walk into that dispensary, get treated, and go home without paying a single shilling or a coin, so long as your governor has enlisted. So Kenyans must ensure that governors have enlisted all their primary healthcare facilities. They are level 1, level 2, level 3 facilities, since this 13 billion is there up for grabs to treat you for free. For free, Mr. Speaker. Let me insist, for free in any healthcare facility. If you get an accident, Honorable Speaker, you have another 10 billion shillings going to the Emergency, Chronic and Critical Illnesses Fund to ensure that if I get an accident, I am enlisted under SHA, I will now get treated for an emergency, a chronic illness, for free again in a dispensary or health center, level 4, that is enlisted under the SHA platform, Honorable Speaker. And with that, I beg to support and urge members to support these budget estimates, even as we look forward to considering the revenue estimates when the finance bill eventually is tabled before us by the Finance Committee. And congratulations to our Budget and Appropriations Committee for the good work and the huge effort that they put in ensuring that they have rationalized our expenditures with our revenue estimates to give us a product that will be good for our economy, even as we continue to grow our economy from the bottom up through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. I beg to second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriation Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure and the medium term for the financial year 2025-2026, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, the 4th of June, 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, and Standing Order Number 239. Roman 1 approves the issuance of a sum of Kenya shillings 2,538,293,978,440 from the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2026 in respect of the votes contained in the first schedule, subject to paragraph 3rd Roman, Committee of Supply. Second Roman makes the policy and financial resolutions contained in the second schedule to the order paper, and third Roman orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the said budget estimates with respect to each vote and program in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order Number 240, consideration of estimates in the Committee of Supply. The Honorable Aseka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me join my colleagues and my chair in supporting this budget estimate for 2025-2026 financial year. Speaker, this budget provides for about 4.3 trillion, with 405 billion being allocated to our counties, 1.3 being allocated to CFS, and about 10 billion being allocated to the Equalization Fund. So, Speaker, if you look at this budget, key programs that supports the development of this country have been captured. The budget provides funds for the subsidized fertilizer, which will go a long way in addressing food insecurity. This budget provides revenues or funds for the recruitment of about 20,000 intern teachers who will assist us in our GSS centers. Mr. Speaker, this budget provides funds approximately to about 6 billion that will help into employing our universal healthcare nurses on permanent and pensionable basis. Mr. Speaker, as we look at this budget, we must also ask ourselves some of the serious questions on the implementation of budget. Mr. Speaker, it's not about figures. Budget and a good budget must be implementable. It's not just passing a budget that cannot be implemented. With a deficit of 786 billion, we need to ask ourselves how we are going to raise these funds and ensure that this budget is implemented. On the county allocation of about 4 or 5 billion, Honorable Speaker, it is important to note that, as the leader of majority has said, that accountability is key into this. So, Speaker, I come from accounting Kakamega, where, Mr. Speaker, hardly the last 3 years, I haven't seen any project that has been done by the county government, even a one-door toilet that has been completed in my county. We must also call our governors to order and tell them to stop stealing, to stop taking Kenyans for a ride, and to stop the interest they have and the appetite of looting the government resources. Honorable Speaker, as I also support, I want to call upon Treasury to ensure that it provides resources and funds for the payment of the pending bills. It's very discouraging that many of our suppliers and contractors are languishing in the streets because of non-payment of pending bills. And you see, Mr. Speaker, if these bills are not paid, they hinder the growth of the economy of this country. I want to urge you all members to support this, and we must ensure that we have a very robust implementation matrix to ensure that this budget is implemented to the latter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Bukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on the onset, I want to support this estimates for the 2025-2026 budget estimates. I'm a member of the Budget and Appropriation Committee. I'm the Vice Chair. And I want to thank my chair and my colleagues from the Budget and Appropriation for the time and effort which they put into analyzing this budget and listening to the various chairs of the committees. And I can see some of the chairs here, the Honorable Murugaro, the Honorable Powen, the Honorable Tongoyo, the Honorable KJ of ICT, and Honorable Speaker, I think this, and Honorable Nyikal, my chair for the Health Committee. Honorable Speaker, this has been a very involving budget where committees, departmental chairs have engaged their committees, appeared before the Budget and Appropriation after listening to the ministries and sagas. And I think, having gone through this budget, Honorable Speaker, this budget, what would ask the Treasury, who appeared before the Budget and Appropriation Committee, is that they make sure they release money in time, because that has been the biggest problem. They must release money in time so that these projects can be implemented. This budget is very informative. It is very, it's affecting all the parts of this country. I would say it applies equity in it. Many of the farmers who are involved in coffee, as my chair put it, there is 2 billion for the coffee cherry fund. And maybe some of the farmers might not understand this, and they end up going to the banks to borrow money, which has very high interest rates. And that makes the farming activity a little bit very expensive. They should apply for this cherry fund, which has low interest rates. In addition to that, we've given fertilizer subsidy of 8 billion. But not just that, there is also subsidy to the Kenya seed for the provision of seed maize and other seeds. There is also money for mopping up of the legumes within the region. And this through KNDC, and maybe KNDC can also involve the cereals, so that you have mopping of the legumes. You also have 2 billion for the sugar sector to ensure that the reforms take place. And as you heard His Excellency, the President, when he was in Homa Bay, he said, we've not sold out these sugar companies. What we've done is we've leased it out. And this leasing out is to make sure that these sugar companies become productive. They turn around the sugar sector. Because for many years, our farmers, especially in the Nyanza, in Western and the coastal region, who have engaged in sugar farming, they've not been doing well due to a lot of mismanagement, corruption, and that has ended up discouraging farmers. But we hope that now, with this 2 billion and also the reforms within the sugar sector, that things will move in the right direction. Honorable Speaker has put it very clearly. We are working in a limited financial constraints. And therefore, in the revenue-raising measures, many people have said we should not borrow more. We should not continue incurring more debts. And therefore, I want to urge our county governments, especially through the Senate, that the 4 or 5.1 billion that is being given to the counties, plus the additional 69 billion, which is the conditional additional allocation to the counties, if that money is utilized well, we should be able to see development. In the recent conditional additional allocation to the counties that was done, my county of Trans Nzoia got 96 million for doing the roads. And I hope that the county government will utilize that money in a proper way to make sure that towns like Endebess and Kitale Town and Kiminini Town are properly done roads within that area. Honorable Speaker, as put it by many of my colleagues, when you move into the counties or constituencies, it is easier for you to see a project that has been done by CDF. But it is very difficult to see a project that has been done by the counties. In this budget, the CDF money has been enhanced to 58 billion, and we hope that the money for CDF for this financial year will be released before the end of the financial year so that members can be able to do their projects. We also hope that money for the next financial year will be released in timely so that the counties, the constituencies, can be able to also do their projects. Honorable Speaker, agriculture is the backbone of this country. With the 8 billion subsidy for fertilizer and the 2 billion for Kenya Seed to subsidize on seed maize, we hope that our production of food will be able to increase. And this ensures that Kenya is able to feed its own citizens. It's food secure. And that is what we've achieved since this government came in place. We've had good rainfalls, we've had good production, and I think now we don't see anybody carrying sufuria in the head to say bei ya ugali iende chini. And I think that is good. My friend Honorable Oundo is happy that the price of ugali has gone down. And recently, I think the government also subsidized on unga, and now people are happy. So we shall keep it that way, that we, the farmers, will continue producing more of the maize, more of the wheat, more of the coffee, more of the tea, so that we can have enough for our own food and even have enough to export. Honorable Speaker, in this budget, we provided 2 billion for the recruitment of KDF. We've also provided money for the recruitment of our 10,000 police officers. And this will go a long way in enhancing security within our country. KDF has not been able to recruit for the last 2 or 3 years. And therefore, we need to beef up our security. We're facing new threats within in security areas. Many of our neighbors are unstable, and therefore we must be able to equip our armed forces to make sure that our country is well protected. And in operations, we've been able to provide 6 billion. So, Honorable Speaker, I think this is a very progressive budget. It will take us to the next level, and therefore, with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to support.
The Honorable Beatrice Alachi, followed by the Honorable Lesuda, and then Makali, in that order. Then we come back to the next round.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to first thank the committee and to thank the Chair and the CS of Treasury. Indeed, for bringing in a budget that we can interrogate, but also appreciate on how they have tried to bring an inclusive budget that takes care of the whole country. And Mr. Speaker, mine will be very brief. That number one, I want to appreciate the docket that I always say that carries Kenya, the education docket. And first, to appreciate that as much as you've given them 168.2 billion for transformative education initiatives, the most important thing we are looking at is first, you've returned the money for examinations, and so at least Kenyans will appreciate that the 5.9 billion has come back for examination. You remember it had brought in a lot of heated debate, but we thank for that. We are also appreciating that as much as we're giving money, the 17.2 billion to support university funding model, and to ensure that we also have help that will enable students from all backgrounds to be able also to get money to pursue their tertiary education. But more importantly, one thing the Ministry of Education should do to this country is to give every child, Mr. Speaker, a NEMIS number. The day we will have a NEMIS number for our children is the day we will have the correct capitation and the correct budget for the Ministry of Education. We shall be able to know how much do we really spend. Because even in my own constituencies, I am still pushing, Mr. Speaker, just to get resources for our children, because those who don't have birth certificates will never get these resources, will never get capitation. That is why they are saying in a school is getting 400 shillings. The problem is not our house here. The problem is the ministry that has not brought NEMIS numbers for our children. Mr. Speaker, the other thing I would wish to now appreciate is that now we shall move on with the Nyota program. And this program, you remember, we were unable to implement because we didn't have money that we were supposed to support. And you remember, the World Bank wanted us to have a program that you equalize. You have the ministry, the government supporting in and World Bank supporting in. And now there are 100 youths that will be in our constituencies are able to start. Those who believe in small businesses will be able to tap and at least do small businesses. With 50,000, you can start something, Mr. Speaker. The other thing is the UHC program. We appreciate. I know many of them were very worried. They were sending messages, please ensure. And now we have them in the budget. Their monies are there to ensure they are permanent and pensionable. Funding of Linda Mama, which is very critical in the health docket, is also there, Mr. Speaker. And we want to thank the committee of even going beyond that and looking at gender-based violence. And now saying that the government must fund and ensure even the technical teams that are working on gender-based violence are funded. And that is one thing we want to really appreciate, even as we move on. Mr. Speaker, the other thing now that is very worrying, and this is what I want to plead with the governors, even as we look at the issue of mediation, that why can't we agree as both houses that the little monies we can get, we pay pending bills? Because these Kenyans who supplied either at the county level, at the national level, they supplied, you have used their products. Mr. Speaker, they have gone down, they have been auctioned by banks. The best thing we can do in this budget is to try and ensure, instead of talking about 480, 460, going to the county, that we have ensured we take off some money to pay our fellow Kenyans who have supplied and every day, in, out, they work in offices because of their pending bills. I think that is the most sad part of the whole process. So, Mr. Speaker, even as we look at everything that we have done, if we don't come up with a solution of these pending bills, Mr. Speaker, it will be very sad to every Kenyan who tries to work for government, who knows very well that there was need to supply this item. They did supply, and now can't be paid. And then now we reach at a point, we start saying, Mr. Speaker, oh, we must put a committee to look whether this was true, this was right. Why are we looking at that? It means we are all with a problem, Mr. Speaker. That is why we come up with such a ways of now measuring and saying, this is how I have to pay. Somebody who supplied you, somebody you know very well, did his work. So, Mr. Speaker, even as I finalize, I just want to go and now look at the Department of Defense. And Mr. Speaker, in the Department of Defense, this is what the committee observed. That during the periods of 1992-1997 1998-2000, the Ministry of Defense did not conduct any recruitment, resulting in significant deficiencies in the posture of the Kenya Defense Forces. And so they are saying to remedy this situation, it is important, and they are requesting for 2 billion shillings to support recruitment efforts this fiscal year, which I support. And the reasons are, it is true. And we have gone slowly by slowly. One of the things we are not doing fair to our disciplinary forces is that even the things they used to benefit, we used to exempt them because of the work they go through, Mr. Speaker. We used to ensure they are able, we provide for them, because this was a service you have gone out there to protect your country, Mr. Speaker. And even today, for those who their loved ones have fallen, you will find now their wives and children suffering because we have never put in a way of protecting. And so it is important for us, even those veterans, they have done their duties for us. I think it is important for government to look at and ensure it is, yes, not misused, because I know maybe it was removed. Most of these privileges are being removed because we ourselves again go and end up misusing. But for those who are in the camps, for those who we know are there, they are in Somalia, they are where, they need us to come up with a favorable way of ensuring they are also protected. Today I even see even our own police, Mr. Speaker. You find even the uniform is gone. The shoe is gone. Honestly. And you are expecting him or her to stand and do duty for you. I think it's very unfortunate. They are the first we need to protect because we took them to that duty and they have come out, they are doing it. So for us even to look at all this, Mr. Speaker, it is time we also need to look at just the dignity. Even as we look for their housing, and I want to appreciate Central Bank and all those who are doing institutional affordable housing for those who are working for them. We must remember they have to be, they are the brand of the country, the image of our country. They have to have a uniform that dignifies them. Mr. Speaker, the institutions that deal with corruption, they were there to help us. And so EACC was not just there to take you to court. It was there to help you, Mr. Speaker, that after they have found that you have mismanaged, they will come into the institution and assist this institution so that next time there's no mismanagement of resources. The Auditor General, Mr. Speaker, it is there to audit, yes, but it's also there to help that institution so that in the next audit, you are not supposed to find the same mistake that was audited, the same mistake. Then what was the purpose of the auditing? It was to clean. We brought in these institutions to help us so that in our mismanagements, we are able to manage. So I'm pleading to those institutions also. It's not just about bringing in a bad report. It is about saying we audited County X, Constituency X, Sector X last year, but this year we have a recognition to say that this institution has improved in the way they are doing their things. That way then, there is a purpose of us spending all these public resources, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, with those remarks, I beg to support.
Honorable Lesuda. Oh, you take precedent of her. Is that it? Okay. Okay.
We Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I discussed with my sister, Honorable Resuta, and she has agreed that I take the slot. So, Honorable Speaker,
to say.
Mr. Speaker, I did not mean to interrupt the Honorable Makale Molu, but just to request your indulgence because budget is a very important, it's a very important affair. If it is within the to request that if we members can take only 5 minutes
Yeah.
to contribute, so that today and tomorrow, most of the members may contribute.
Indeed.
Yes. 5.
The rules, order, Honorable Watch. The chair has had. If it's in your wisdom, to take as little time as possible so that you can have many people will partake in this. Order, Honorable Suda. You have your time, and the time is spelled out. So if you want to take it, the chair has no authority or power to limit you. This should have been done at the beginning of the debate. But now that now that your own colleagues are telling you take less time so that we can all. Okay, let's observe that, gentleman.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Mutuse, being a first timer, we understand these things are done at the start of the motion. But I just want to say that I'll try to be brief so that we save time. So this will depend on individual members. But I'll be brief, Honorable Speaker, and this is what I want to say, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think I really want to appreciate the departmental committees for their presentations and the budget committee for doing this good work. It wasn't easy to do this budget because of the very restrictive fiscal space. And on the basis of that, Honorable Speaker, we're ready to see what really can be prioritized in this budget. And Honorable Speaker, as I debate this budget, I just want to focus on what must be done for this budget to make sense to Kenyans. And unless this is done, Honorable Speaker, then this budget is likely to have minimal impact to the lives of Kenyans. The first thing that must be done, Honorable Speaker, is that exchequer releases must be done in time. So long as we have a budget which is not supported by exchequer releases, Honorable Speaker, it will be a waste of time. Over time, we have been implementing budget very low percentages because of challenging environment in terms of exchequer release. The second thing which must be done, Honorable Speaker, and this must be done for this budget to make sense, it is, Honorable Speaker, that this House, where I sit, and we all sit, we must ensure that recommendations from the Office of the Auditor General are implemented, Honorable Speaker. Through the Public Accounts Committee, we have so many recommendations which have been adopted by this House, but they are never implemented, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, accounting officers are taking this House for a ride, because so long as you don't enforce those recommendations, they continue doing the fun things they do every day. Third thing, Honorable Speaker, that must be implemented or enforced is the issue of public debt, Honorable Speaker. During these discussions of the budget this year, Honorable Speaker, it was reported that this country has paid for the last 3 years 6.7 billion in terms of commitment fee, Honorable Speaker. Commitment fee is fees which is paid by the country for undrawn loans. We have signed for loans, we are not drawing the loans. So we have spent 6.7 billion, Honorable Speaker. You can imagine what 6.7 billion can do, Honorable Speaker. For the exams, which were not factored in, we only provided 5.9 billion, and now that matter is settled. We still have change if you are to consider the 6.7 billion. The other thing, Honorable Speaker, that must be done if this budget has to make sense to Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, this budget committee has provided 4 billion for land compensation. But Honorable Speaker, I want to tell you, Kenyans out there have donated their land for public goods and services. And so many of them have not been compensated. Honorable Speaker, if these Kenyans have to see this budget making sense to them, we must ensure that as we move to the future, we provide enough resources so that we compensate people for their land. Third thing which must be done, Honorable Speaker, and I want to agree totally with what Honorable Iracha said, is the issue of corruption in this country. Honorable Speaker, as we are discussing this budget, the committee, I think on the committee takes care on small-scale enterprises, reported that the accounting officer in charge of the ASRA fund reported they could not recover 5 billion, the money which has been dispersed. And Honorable Speaker, we are saying, how do you dare add resources to a department or MDA where resources have not been accounted for. So if this budget has to make sense, Honorable Speaker, we must make sure that issue of misappropriation must be stopped, Honorable Speaker. The other thing which must be done, Honorable Speaker, if this budget has to make sense, is the issue of equalization fund, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, equalization fund since the Constitution of 2010 has been budgeted for year in, year out. But these resources are never released to the implementing departments in the rural setting. So the whole essence of equalization fund, Honorable Speaker, is dying because we are not releasing the funds as expected. Third thing, Honorable Speaker, which must be done for this budget to make sense is the issue of public participation. Honorable Speaker, these honorable members of this committee have gone out to Kenyans in the counties and have gotten projects from the counties saying, County A, B, C, this is what we would want to see being done this financial year. In the immediate last financial year, Honorable Speaker, the year actually we are implementing now, Honorable Speaker, the money for public participation was removed in a supplementary budget. Honorable Speaker, this budget cannot make sense if we continue entertaining situations where public participation money is removed from the budget, either through supplementary budget. So we are saying public participation money, because it is money being proposed by Kenyans out there, must be respected, and the Treasury has no authority to touch that money, Honorable Speaker. The other thing, Honorable Speaker, for this budget to make sense, what that must be done, is the issue of the pending bills. Honorable Speaker, I think Elijah said it. Unless we clear the pending debts or pending bills, Honorable Speaker, we'll continue lamenting as a country. And Honorable Speaker, these pending bills are held by Kenyans. Kenyans who have provided goods, Kenyans who have provided services to this country or to the government. It is time, Honorable Speaker, we cleared these pending bills. And Honorable Speaker, there is the issue of the verification committees, which to me I think is a deliberate move to delay clearing of pending bills. These verification committees, Honorable Speaker, must move with speed to make sure that then we clear these pending bills. The last item, before I sit down, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of prioritization, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I still think from where I sit that when you look at the projects and programs which have gone to this government, these projects, this budget, Honorable Speaker, I think there is still room for improvement. Some of the programs and projects we are getting to this project, to this budget, Honorable Speaker, we might do better if we were to take slightly more time so that in terms of prioritization, we get it right, Honorable Speaker, because I think for me, we are not getting it 100%. There is still a room of about 30%. And if we improve that 30%, Honorable Speaker, we can easily, Honorable Speaker, do with minimal borrowing. I remember the majority leader did say that we are borrowing about 878 billion, which is 4.5% of the GDP. Honorable Speaker, if we go right in prioritization, we could easily, Honorable Speaker, reduce this deficit to about 3%, and the less we borrow, Honorable Speaker, the better for this country, because borrowing has squeezed our fiscal space to a level that we have no space to do any development. Last item, Honorable Speaker, the Outer General has reported that a third of the budget, which is about $1 trillion, Honorable Speaker, cannot be accounted for. We are borrowing 900 billion. $1 trillion cannot be accounted for. Speaker, you just need to do that mathematics. If you make the wastage zero, you'll be remaining with about 100 billion without borrowing. I submit, Honorable Speaker, and thank you for the time you've given me. Thank you so much. I support.
Madam Lesuda, and then followed by Honorable Muchira, and then Bowen, and then Tongoi. Yeah, watch, I'll be certainly. Okay, proceed, Lesuda. If you take minimal time, then everybody will have a chance.
Thank you, Speaker. I will do my best to take the shortest time possible and not repeat what my colleagues have said. Thank you for this opportunity. And first and foremost, I would like to congratulate, because I sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, Chairman Honorable Atandi, who was the chair during this session, and also to congratulate the former chairperson of Budget and Appropriation Committee, Honorable Ndindi. He also chaired during a very difficult time when we had that As a country, we inherited empty coffers, and also we had the issue of the collapsed finance bill. We had him as the chair, and I want to congratulate him and to thank him for the time that he was chairman, and Honorable Atandi for his good stewardship during this budget process. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak on a number of issues, and one of them is that in this budget, there are a number of fears that Kenyans had. And one of them was the issue of examinations. Actually, in one of the places that we were at, when I was walking out, I had one Kenyan asking me, are you going to support examination to be supported during this budget, or do I move my child? But Mr. Speaker, we assured that Kenyan that there will be money to support examinations during this year, Mr. Speaker. And this I would like to speak to the policy makers, that when you change policies, you have to do it thoughtfully, and it doesn't have to take this house to come and reinstate. It can't be when Kenyans are making noise about the examination money is when you're saying, oh, the private schools, oh, I don't know what. Just do the policy, do the public participation way ahead of the budget, or by the time we are moving the budget, Mr. Speaker. So it is very important that, because those are the things that cause anxiety, those are the things that are causing anxiety even for the current government, because of the policy change. Policies also follow resources. And so it can't be that one person wakes up this morning and says, remove examination fee, and then Kenyans make noise, return examination fee, and then some of it, private schools, some people can afford it. It is important that we look at the policies that we make, and so that they do not bring anxiety amongst Kenyans. I would also want to say this, Mr. Speaker, that it is important for Kenyans to note that we have moved to 4.2 trillion this budget, and it is important also to note that there are key sectors that have been factored. And one of the factors, and even as members of parliament, we always get a message when the money for older persons, 25.7 billion has been factored this financial year, and we always get a message when that money has been released. There's also money for persons living with disability, 1.5 billion, and overseas, 9.1 billion. And so it is important to note that we are taking care of the most vulnerable in our society and in our communities. We have been seeing also the UHC workers, and especially those who worked very hard, especially when we had COVID in our country. The 6.1 billion towards making permanent and pensionable has been factored, and I do hope that by the end of this year, they will all be onboarded. Mr. Speaker, also we have money for livestock insurance, 2.3 billion. And we also have Kenya Livestock Commercialization Program, 1.57 billion. Mr. Speaker, there is an issue of equalization fund, which has been spoken to by my colleague, Honorable Makali. We have to have an honest conversation, and even as this House, which passes the same policies, and I know that the third policy is coming up, Mr. Speaker, we have to agree that this issue of delocalizing more equalization fund to ward level is not working. There was a reason why in the Constitution we had the counties that were listed in the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And I know that in a few years, many of us will be asking why equalization fund is not working. It is not working because we moved from I think it's 13 counties, and we went further towards, Mr. Speaker, and so a ward gets about 7 million. Equalization fund was to move us from where we were to where the rest of the country was. So now if we continue with the policy that we have, and I know that there's another policy coming up, we have to give the money to the counties where the Constitution spoke about, so that equalization fund can actually make sense, Mr. Speaker, so that those counties can also move from where we are to where we are. Because equalization fund, every time we ask for any additional funds in the budget, as counties who are beneficiaries of the equalization fund, we are told, but you have equalization fund. But it is this same house who raided the counties who are to be beneficiaries of equalization fund, Mr. Speaker. And so it is important that we discuss and that. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that in this budget we have issue of last mile. Some of our counties, where I come from, we are very, some money will be taken in and it will cater for long lines of electricity, Mr. Speaker. We all know and understand that electricity is a game changer, just as water. Mr. Speaker, a budget in some counties, there are counties in this house, Mr. Speaker, or constituencies, who actually don't need any transformers anymore. They have electricity up to nowhere. But there are counties, Mr. Speaker, in this house or constituencies who actually need electricity. Actually, there are counties like my county, we are less than 20%, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure Marakwet is the same. I'm sure Marsabit is the same. And so the money being given to REREC, they should look at the counties and the constituencies where they have the minimal allocation or the coverage of electricity, Mr. Speaker. As I get to the end, there is also the issue of water, which is a key issue, and it's important that we ensure that also those areas where we have issues of water are taken care of. And in this budget, Mr. Speaker, we actually looked at it, and I want to also thank the departmental committees for the work that they actually did. There's also the issue of community health promoters. There is 3.2 billion. Mr. Speaker, the issue of pending bill and corruption. We cannot continue to politicize those two issues. We either have to do it or not do it as a country. Pending bill, we also have to think why we commit what we don't have as a country, because that's why it becomes a pending bill. If a ministry or a department does not have the money, why are you engaging a contractor without the money, without the exchequer? So, we can romanticize and make it look good because we are defending contractors whose pending bill has not been paid. And they should learn from NGCDF, because NGCDF is what has received the highest bashing. But I want to say NGCDF is one of the best examples that people have to look at. You can never commit what you don't have. If it is not in your code list, if it is not in your AIE, if you pay before, it will not be paid, Mr. Speaker. And so we have to rethink as a country that it cannot just be until you have the money, you cannot engage. But also the issue of exchequer, it cannot also be left to Treasury to decide who gets the money and not. Finally, because I've seen the light on issue of corruption. The day we stop politicizing corruption as a country is when it will work. So that it doesn't matter that today you've shifted camps in government. It is almost becoming ridiculous because Kenyans can read through the politics of corruption. If we are going for any member who is engaged in corruption, Mr. Speaker, as a nation, Mr. Speaker, just give me 1 minute to conclude this issue of corruption, and then just 1 minute. We have to be serious, also even as a country and this house. We cannot continue to talk about corruption, but it is very, very obvious that the last time you were in UDA, you were being arrested. Now you're not being arrested because as a governor or as an MP. Now you've gone to Amonyoro, you're being arrested. If you're engaged in corruption, you are engaged in corruption. It doesn't matter which side you are on. So we either become serious as a nation and as a country, or we stop talking about the issue of corruption. Or you just have to be on the right side of government. I was with one governor who told me, I am on a certain side, but I have to be good so that I am not gone for. You know, we have to be real as a country. Otherwise, we stop discussing these issues of corruption every time, corruption. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Moshira. Yes.
Thank you for Oljorok to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity, and I start to support the motion as it was moved by the chairman for Budget and Appropriation Committee. And Mr. Speaker, I want to really thank the chairman and the members of the Budget Committee where I serve, because through constant engagement with the Treasury, these budgets, in these estimates, we have reduced the fiscal deficit from 5.1 in the last financial year to 4.5 in the coming fiscal year 25-26. And Mr. Speaker, this has been achieved by ensuring that we have realistic revenue projection, because, Mr. Speaker, previously we've been over-projecting our revenue. But in the tabled budget estimates, we've ensured that we have the projected revenue is as realistic as possible. Mr. Speaker, we've also achieved this through the rationalization of the expenditure by ensuring that we have included only the essential expenditure estimates. But speaking of the fiscal deficit, Mr. Speaker, we've also realized that we've been focusing so much on the revenue side through taxation measures and such. And in this report, Mr. Speaker, we have recommended that we also focus on the expenditure side by ensuring that we eliminate wasteful expenditure in the government. And one of the sectors that we picked is the rental expenditure. The government department and SAGA, we realized that we pay billions of money every year in terms of rent. And some of the leases, actually, Mr. Speaker, are entered in dollar denomination, such that when we had volatility in our sharing, we were paying huge amount of money in terms of rent. And one of the recommendations that we've made is that we should ensure that we reform our rent policy and ensure that we are optimally using our revenue space that we have. And number two, by ensuring that we do cost-benefit analysis such that we check the amount of rent that we are paying, and we compare with how much we would incur if we were to buy a building to act as an office space for our officers. And number two, Mr. Speaker, we also took notice of our appropriation in AIDS, and we found that the projected appropriation in aid come in the next fiscal year is 560 billion. And Mr. Speaker, as a committee, we recommended that we need to reassess the overall framework governing our A&A. And in these estimates, we have allocated some money to answer full operationalization of the Treasury Sync account. to ensure that our collection of appropriation in aid is transparent, accountable, and efficiency. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, as I go to education sector, as many other speakers have said, we've provided money to recruit 20,000 interns in the coming fiscal year. We've also provided resources for promotion of teachers. But as we do this, Mr. Speaker, we also recommended that the promotion of teachers needs to be transparent and fair. Back in our constituencies, we have many teachers complaining that they attend interviews, but they are never promoted. The policy needs, the TSC needs to change their policy such that the promotion is fair and transparent. We've also allocated funds for medical scheme for the teachers. And again, this is another area that TSC needs to look at. We have so many complaints out there from our teachers that, for instance, in the medical scheme that they have, that if, for instance, you have two beneficiaries who are sick, you are told to choose one that will be treated. And this is unfair, Mr. Speaker. And of course, as many other speakers have said, we've provided money for exams, KCSE, CAPSEA, and grade 9 exams. So our students need to rest easy and work hard because their exams will be catered for. Mr. Speaker, as I finalize, I need to mention, and this issue I also raised in the last financial year, the issue of Senate Oversight Fund. And it's important for members to know in this budget, there is 500 million for the Senate Oversight Fund. This is not money for development. It's important for the public to know some senators take home as high as 29 million, not for development, for the oversight. How they get extra money for oversight, yet they are paid, they have salaries to oversight. How they get extra money to oversight, not for development, 29 million. Mr. Speaker, there are women reps who get 6 million a year, and we are able to see what they are doing with 6 million. This is 29 million, one senator, 25 million, another senator, money for fuel, I don't know money for what, to do the oversight. It is time, Mr. Speaker, this House, and there is no legal framework for this money. There is no legal framework for the Senate Oversight Fund. So it is time this House, the National Assembly, which has the sole mandate of budgeting and appropriation of fund, take a hard stance and make the right decision in terms of appropriation of this money. 500 million, Mr. Speaker, is the money that if it's taken to NGCDF, every constituency would get enough money to do classrooms. We still have issues with the classrooms in our constituencies. Mr. Speaker, as I support the estimate. Thank you.
Honorable Kanguku Bowen. Yeah, there are members the previous speaker had designated to speak.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the budget estimate 2025-2026. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to start by congratulating my good friend, the member for Aleko Usonga, and the chair of budget, Mheshimiwa Atandi, for a very good report. Mr. Speaker, we as chairs of committees, we had an engagement with the Budget and Appropriation Committee led by the Honorable Atandi. And Mr. Speaker, it was a very, very interactive session where all of us, we had to present what the ministries, the departments presented before us. And what I have seen from the chair is what actually we presented. Initially, Mr. Speaker, we have had in maybe one or two occasions, we have had issues with the budget committee in the past, where sometimes the departmental committee chairs, when they submit their reports, it is mutilated, and the document you see in the floor and what we presented was different. But this time around, Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm that what we presented is actually what's in the floor of the House, and I want to congratulate the Honorable Chair. Number two, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee and the Treasury for the good job they have done. It's a balanced budget. It's a very balanced budget in terms of regional projects, in terms of cutting across the departments, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I have seen the allocation given to the executive, given to the judiciary, and given to this House or the Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what I would want to ask the Honorable Chair and the Budget Committee next time, we need to see on how we can increase the budget of judiciary to complete some projects which they had started. There are so many high courts and low courts which have stalled in many stages, in many counties, in many constituencies. Mr. Speaker, some of us where we come from, we have to travel almost 200 kilometers to just access, that is the nearest magistrate court. So there is need to take these judicial services closer to the people. And I will support, Mr. Speaker, if there will be an increment in the budget for judiciary. Mr. Speaker,
the Honorable Chair of the Justice and Legal Affairs is obviously taking note of that, including the stalled construction of the High Court in Homa Bay.
Yes. Not only that one in Homa Bay, Mr. Speaker, if you are given an account of the stalled projects or the high courts and magistrates across the country, there are many. And there is need, Mr. Speaker, that's why we are saying, going forward, as we appropriate monies, Mr. Speaker, let us start first checking on the pending bills. The second charge, Mr. Speaker, must be ongoing projects. Before we start a new projects, Mr. Speaker, there is need to complete the already ongoing projects. There are so many ongoing projects in roads, in water, in electricity, which are ongoing, but they have stalled. Mr. Speaker, having said that, the allocation, Mr. Speaker, given to agriculture is very encouraging. You saw last year, Mr. Speaker, especially some of us coming from the North Rift region, which are dealing with maize. When farmers were given a subsidized fertilizers, Mr. Speaker, there's been, I think, triple production of maize across the country. What we only need to ask, Mr. Speaker, is that these farmers actually, they have been encouraged to produce. But sometimes, again, the market or the price given is very low. There is need, Mr. Speaker, to allocate more resources to National Cereals and Produce Board so that they can purchase at least more than 5,000 per 90 kilogram of maize. Mr. Speaker, I have also seen in the budget the allocation given to the Ministry of Health. Mr. Speaker, if you remember, some 3 months ago, Kenyans were complaining. There were a lot of complaints about the SHA, but now the complaints has gone down. And with the additional allocation given to the SHA, the primary health care, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure our people will benefit if they are able to register themselves in large numbers and register themselves using the county system. Mr. Speaker, they will benefit from this healthcare system. Mr. Speaker, on the water sector, which I chair, Mr. Speaker, the budget allocated to water, Mr. Speaker, is very low. Given that water provision is a constitutional issue, under Article 43, Honorable Speaker, So, Mr. Speaker, there is a proposal I had made before this House that there is need to have an allocation per constituency, if possible, Mr. Speaker, even to start with 50 million per constituency. So that, Mr. Speaker, we have a balance and we have our people have access even to the smallest water service, if it's a borehole or even a water pan, Mr. Speaker. As it is, Mr. Speaker, you will find sometimes that the donor-funded projects running into billions of shillings is at one corner of the country. The GOK, maybe again, you will find that there is a big dam of about 50 billion, 20 billion, 30 billion. It's been under construction for the last 20 years. Mr. Speaker, the people have not access, they don't have an access to water. These dams, they have been constructing for over 20, 30 years. But if you can have that 30, 20, 40 billion, which is allocated to dams, Mr. Speaker, allocate every constituency, for instance, 100 million only. 100 million, Mr. Speaker, adds up to almost 28 billion. Only 28 billion, every constituency will get 100 million. And we have 100 million in every constituency, Mr. Speaker. That will be a big impact in terms of water provision. But as it is, Mr. Speaker, we need to run away from these big dams. Let's complete those which are already stalled and now put money to projects which people can access water. Within a month or 2 months, those projects must be completed and people have access to water. Mr. Speaker, on the last mile connectivity, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Naisula Lesuda spoke about this. Many constituencies in Nairobi here, they sometimes they are oversupplied. Sometimes even they don't need some of this money for electricity, last mile connectivity. But Mr. Speaker, if you come to where we are coming from, you go to the northern Kenya, Kerio Valley, where I come from. In my constituency, Mr. Speaker, I have less than 10% connectivity. Less than 10% connectivity. In some other areas, they have 100% connectivity. Mr. Speaker, when we are allocating the monies for last mile connectivity, there is need for the ministry, Mr. Speaker, to prioritize the lowest areas, Mr. Speaker. And this one, Mr. Speaker, I think as a house, we need to take it very seriously so that we can have every Kenyan benefit from this issue of electricity. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of the bending bills. Mr. Speaker, the bending bills is very important. There are so many contractors in this country. There are so many people who have worked. Some of them, they have been auctioned. Some of them, they have sold their properties to service government tenders and projects. But they have not been paid. They have been sold. Mr. Speaker, and paying the bending bills, it will trickle down, to the driver of that contract, to the mama who is doing cooking the githeri around that area. So, Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, high support.
Thank you so much, Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to add my voice into what my colleagues had already said. Honorable Speaker, from the very start, I want to take this opportunity to really commend the Budget Committee, led by their very able chair, Honorable Samuel Atandi, for a job well done. Honorable Speaker, it should not be lost to us that Atandi, this is his first assignment as a chair budget, and he has really managed to do it with precision and expertise. That actually we can just say it is well done. Congratulations. And of course, I don't also forget the entire Budget Committee for supporting the able chair. On the same, Honorable Speaker, the entire departmental committee that have also put a lot of efforts and added value into this. They took a lot of their time, burned the midnight oil, listening and interrogating the state departments to bring this document to what it is today. It wasn't easy, Honorable Speaker, but I really want to commend my colleagues. It was really a sign of commitment and dedication. Honorable Speaker, I won't take much time, and I want just to highlight a few critical areas that has been factored in this budget. And I want to start by talking about agriculture, Honorable Speaker. We all know the critical importance that agriculture is at the backbone of our economy. And since the inception of the Kenya Kwanza government, the agriculture sector has continuously taken forefront in budget allocation. And it should not be lost on us, Honorable Speaker, that when William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza took over the government, they had a very robust policy of investing not in consumption, but really in putting a lot of focus in production. And that is where the issue of the fertilizer subsidy really took center stage. And we can attest to that it has really given us good results. The food production in the country has continued to be very in the steady increase. The food prices has really gone down, and even the inflation rate in the country, which is very commendable, Honorable Speaker. It is also notable, Honorable Speaker, that the subsidy has continuously been actually considered heavily in budget allocation, which is something very, Honorable Speaker, commendable. We also appreciate, Honorable Speaker, that even actually in the provision of the sugar reform, including the operationalization of the Sugar Act 2024, which through this budget, it has got an allocation of about 370 million. And it's also good to note that even some money has been allocated for the provision of the cotton revitalization. And more importantly, Honorable Speaker, the 2.3 billion that has been allocated for de-risking, which goes a long way to cushion and help the pastoralist community mitigating the drought that we actually getting the impact year in, year out. And of course, as a member also coming from the pastoralist community, this is going to be a game changer. It is something that has never been there before. And I know even the issue to do with the milk is going to help these communities. Honorable Speaker, also to mention, of course, the issue of water. I don't want to belabor more. The Chair Water has mentioned about it, where there's some money allocated, but I still believe that we need to do it more. We know, of course, that being an agricultural economy, water is so crucial in realization of this. And I think the issue of there's more that we need to give more emphasis on the issue of water. On the issue of road, Honorable Speaker, we need to appreciate where we were as a country from the start. There was a lot of debts on the sector of road. And of course, the policy of sectorization of our roads is really going, it's done much to at least open up majority of the country that previously has been neglected, so that they can able to realize development in their areas as well. Honorable Speaker, on the issues of education, is notable to see that as a country, as a government, we are continuously allocating a big chunk of our budget in the education sector, because we all appreciate the importance of an educated young youth society in our country toward modernization and toward industrialization, Honorable Speaker. And I think it's really commendable. Quickly, Honorable Speaker, I want to go to a critical area where in the State Department that I oversight as a chair. And more importantly, Honorable Speaker, in the ministry, in the State Department of National Police Service and the National Police Service Commission, there is about 2.8 billion that has been allocated in this financial year to take into account the recruitment of our national police officers, which we are considering about 10,000 recruit, both the cadets and the constables. You know, Honorable Speaker, because you sit in that committee, that the Commission envisioned to recruit 10,000 because we have to appreciate as a country that for the last 3 years, we have not done any recruitment, and we are going toward elections, and we're already even having a natural attrition of about 4,500. The money is not enough, and discussions are still underway to see to it how to close the gap. But it's not to appreciate that it is a positive step, Honorable Speaker, and our Kenya is eager. We had also promised them that we are going to do above board, a more transparent, devoid of any corruption recruitment when the time comes, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, is a way to continuously equipping our security officers who are really doing their best to keep this country safe. The modernization program that has been envisioned has been allocated about 3.4 billion to continue equipping our security agents, and especially in the police service, with equipment and tools of service so that they can be able to perform their duty and their mandate more effectively to protect the country that they so love and are patriotic. And you know it well, Honorable Chair, Speaker, that it's a long-term program that is expected or estimated approximately to take about 30 billion. We have done slightly above 10 billion, and probably moving forward, it is going to continuously getting some budgets. Honorable Speaker, in the still immigration sector, it is worth appreciating that immigration sector, the passport, the national IDs, the ETA, the issue of the visa, has been allocated a fairly good budget, so that as a country we continue doing at least to handle the crisis that there was before. We remember a year ago or so, the whole big problem, long queues in the Nyayo House, because of Kenyans who come there, queue for a week, queue for even a month, waiting the passport documents. Others even miss to travel for medical care and other reasons, just because we could not process the passport and provide them in real time. And now, with this allocation and continuously giving more consideration, I want to really appreciate and say that Kenyans are getting passports in good time. And that is the spirit. Of course, this House had recommended the A in A, so that the ministry will be able to be prosecuting their mandate with less problems, not necessarily relying on the exchequer releases. And it has really been, again, a game changer in this sector. We all know that the issue of ID, the President, His Excellency the President, has done away with the vetting. And our brothers in the northeastern part, the pastoralist community, who has been the victims of the issue of unnecessary vetting, I'd really appreciated this, and it has gone a long way to help them, because all along they have been treated as less citizen, second-class citizens. And with the support, budgetary support of this program, I'm sure we are going to really reap big. And Kenyans in those areas that have been previously affected are going to appreciate this. Honorable Speaker, also I want to talk about the issue.
Yes, the point is making the operationalization of the new legal-settled administration units is critical. You need 2 or 3 minutes. Add him 2 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for your consideration. Colleagues, what I was talking about, all over this country, we have got a lot of gazetted units running from sub-counties, divisions, and locations, which it has been a constant statement sought in this House. And in this budget, we had managed to allocate 600 million to take care at least of the most crucial. But as I said it before, Honorable Speaker, we needed about 2.4 billion to have the entire, all gazetted unit operationalized. So I still implore this House, through even the budget chair, that maybe moving forward in supplementary 3 possible or supplementary 1, more likely we continue to look for more resources to put into this program, so that we can able to have Kenya enjoy the success of having government officers next to them. Honorable Speaker, I want to say I support
what
this.
What did you say about the elders, the village elders you've been talking about? Is there a provision for them?
The village elders, Honorable Speaker, good for your indulgence, Honorable Speaker. We all know in this house that we have already a bill in this house. And it was sponsored by the late Malulu. I took over the bill where we wanted to legislate the village elders so that we have them recognized in law so that we can able to budget for. So it is a work in progress. I want to promise the country and this house that soon or later, we have already a policy from the ministry almost in place. It is undergoing validation. And the regulations are undergoing validation. We have got a bit of a budget for that. But now, until we have the bill, that is when we can able to have this fully realized. So that is what I have to say, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Chairs Murugara, I see the Honorable
So
Chair.
thank you so much. I support.
Yes, I see the Honorable Chair for Health, and of course the members, the leadership. I can see all of you. I wanted to make an exception to allow Honorable Dido Raso to say, have his contribution for the reasons you know, that people of his faith are currently fasting, and he wants to leave. He's fasting. Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for indulging me. And I really wish to beg my colleagues to bear with me. Indeed, I am fasting, and I really wanted to contribute and go away. Honorable Speaker, let me on the onset thank and congratulate the committee headed by Honorable Atandi. And looking through this particular document of the budget 25-26, there are a few areas that I wish to touch on following comments by my chairman, Honorable Gabriel Tangoyo. First of all is the government printer, where they have given them additional allocation of 124 million. The government printer is at the heart of printing of all government documents, whether they are pamphlets, whether they are gazette notice, doctrinal and policy documents. The question I keep on asking myself, in the absence of an efficient, effective, and time-bound government printer, where are classified and important government documents being printed? And I think, Honorable Atandi, going forward, it is important that we put our resources where our mouth is, that places like government printers should be well funded so that the exchequer, actually, as opposed to funding government printer, it is the government printer that can plow resources back to the exchequer. On the State Department for Performance and Delivery Management, I think this is a key department in government that oversights, reports, monitors, and ensures that there are no wastage in government or government projects are delivered on time. I think for the first time I can see they are remembered in this budget. And going forward, if we really want to fight things like corruption and dead projects or white elephant projects, then we must really look at how we are going to use the State Department for Performance and Delivery. On the policing services, I can see there is 1.645 billion and 156 million that has been put in the DCI and in the administration police. If we really want an effective Directorate of Criminal Intelligence to be able to prevent crime, but also to arrest those who are breaking the laws, including killing and doing all sort of anti-society evil, then the DCI must be well equipped. To that end, currently we have the DCI Forensic Lab that has actually overstayed in terms of it being useful and available to the Kenyan public. And to that end, I think the Committee of Budget will, in its wisdom, find the need to put resources into DCI. Secondly, is this issue of the AP, the frontline troops. The APs have the RDU, the Rapid Deployment Unit, the Border Policing Unit, the ROG, that is the Response Operating Group. All these are frontline troops that actually today are keeping Kenya safe while we are able to sit in these chambers and be able to discuss what is really important for Kenya. And putting money into some of these areas, in their mobility, in their firepower, in force protection, then we are able to say that those soldiers who are keeping us safe, they themselves, in the course of their duties, must be safe. Honorable Speaker, the chairman talked about the new administrative units. If Kenya must be governed, then the footprint of governance must be everywhere visible and it can be identified. For a very long time, we have just attended to few areas, and in some cases, it is the elite who actually decide with the executive where governance should go. And I must thank this administration. Today we have close to, I think, 400 plus new sub-counties and divisions, locations, and sub-locations. Already it has been identified by our committee that we need close to 2.5 billion to be able to operationalize those gazetted administrative units. But in this particular budget, a budget line of only 100 million has been provided. It is indeed a drop in the ocean. So for that reason, as members of this House, seamless administration is to our benefit as leaders, so that if there are incidences or if there are developments, then there are people who can carry out these activities on our behalf. So I don't know where the budget committee can find resources, but I believe in your deep pockets, please see if there's anything that you can do. Operationalization of the Livestock Board. Livestock contributes 9% to our GDP. And most of the ASAL, and most of also non-ASAL, depend on livestock for their day-to-day livelihood. And in this particular budget, the National Livestock Development and Promotion Services is lacking. And yet it is here we do development, promotion, and marketing of livestock. A few months ago, we must thank the President for having gazetted the people he nominated for the Livestock Board. And I think in this budget, nothing has been allocated. So I wish to implore the Budget Committee to really look at it, to say what is useful for many out there We must see where we can we plow in some resources, or where can we rob Peter to give Paul. On the other areas, it is this idea of A&A by the National Treasury. I think those organizations that are able to bring money to the exchequer, such as the Public Benefits Organization, this is the former NGOs, the private security companies. These are organizations, if funded, they can plow money back into the national coffers. It is important for us to identify such organizations and put money where there is actually returns. But also, A&A can be abused. In our committee, we have looked at certain areas, and there is potential for abuse. Finally, is the issue of equity. Budget is about equity. When you look at it, look at which part of Kenya has not been touched. And because we have the BAD's overview of the budget, let us be very proficient on that point. With those remarks, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Murugara will be followed by the Honorable Dr. James Nikal.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me begin by thanking Honorable Atandi and his committee for some work very well done. I know they went deep into the nights trying to cobble these figures so that today we can have a debate on them and start the process of appropriating money to the country. So thank you very much, Honorable Atandi and your group. I'm happy to hear from the chairperson of internal security regarding area managers, whom we always speak for. I know there was public participation recently on the government policy on them, but we need to move the speed and enact that bill into a law so that we have a legal framework on which area managers can base their request for payment of their remuneration. It's nice to hear that we are also planning for the new administrative units, sub-counties. Interestingly, when I was young and in primary school, we had only 42 districts. They have moved up and up, and as we speak today, we have over 410 sub-counties in the Republic of Kenya. And this is commendable because it is bringing services closer to the people, and it must be encouraged, including the courts, which, Mr. Speaker, you alluded to. We must now be moving towards having a courthouse in every constituency so that people do not have to walk long distances seeking legal services or justice services. Honorable Speaker, allow me to comment on the sector, the justice sector in the country, which falls under JLAC and has several agencies under it. Thank you, Honorable Atandi, because I begin with the judiciary, where I find that you have made the additional allocation of shillings 1 billion. Extremely important, because the judiciary, as the third arm of government, does important work for this country, and without it, we cannot call ourselves a state. So the judiciary has the 1 billion, which is for various purposes. And the judges, especially the Chief Justice, needs to hear this.
Honorable Murugara, honorable members, pursuant to Standing Order number 237,
alerting the House that we have just entered the second allotted day for purposes of debating this motion.
Very good.
Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. What is the 100 billion supposed to do? Very important. Number one, we have to recruit additional judges. And pursuant to this, an advertisement has gone out that we have now to recruit 20 High Court judges and 15 Court of Appeal judges. Thank you, Honorable Atande. Number two, we must confirm over 1,000 youths who are employed under the Ajira program all over the country in all the courts. These innocent children have worked under contract for over 2 years. And I'm 100% sure that in accordance with our law and the judicial pronouncements, you cannot have a casual or temporary employee for that period of time. So the judiciary needs to look into this quickly, confirm these youngsters into P&P so that they are able to undertake their work of transcribing court proceedings amongst other duties. Number three, stored courthouses. And I always remind the judiciary that when we talk about the High Court at Homa Bay and the other high courts in the country, I also have my principal magistrate's court at Marimanti. I'm happy that money is now available. We should be looking at all the court-stored projects, the courthouses, including that in Homa Bay, now completed, judges posted, and judicial services brought closer to the people. And that applies to that one at Maribanti too. And also move forward the construction of courthouses in the constituencies. I know the judiciary is asking new members of parliament to partner with them so that using CDF, you can actually put up the courthouse. They will then post for you staff. If you have any money left in CDF, this is encouraging because I'm trying it in Tharaka in 2 places. You can also try and see that you have a courthouse, not now in a constituency, but in every sub-county. This is important. That's why we are emphasizing CDF. Because CDF does almost everything in this country, especially when it comes to national government projects. We have had no regard for what is happening in the counties, and I'm happy Kenyans are now waking up to say and demand what exactly are the counties doing for the country. What are they doing for the citizens? We are going to appropriate over 400 billion to these counties. Where is this money going? Apart from huge recurrent expense, and the little that is left is pilfered by unscrupulous governors who think themselves to be demigods in the counties. We will be taking on them head-on because we are the ones who appropriate the money and we do not appropriate it for them to consume. Thank you, Honorable Atandi, because the other state departments also got enhancements. State Department of Justice, Human Rights and Constitutional Affairs, State Department of Correctional Services, State Law Office, Commission on Administrative Justice, Ethics and Anti-Corruption, and Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. All these have received some enhancement, and I believe the Treasury will carry that through. On behalf of the people of Tharaka, it's vitally important that I bring to the attention of Honorable Atande how Tharaka looks like. I'm happy, Honorable Speaker, you have been to Tharaka many times. And what I say here, you can confirm if I go outside. Number one, today, there is no constituency in the country that would be proud to boast of about 25% electricity connectivity. Therefore, thank you, Honorable Atandi. You have allotted money to the Ministry of Energy. It will be my duty to go and remind that ministry that Tharaka needs affirmative action. Tarmac that is disjointed because it has torn. I'm happy money is being allocated to actually now get up those stored projects.
How they between the county government and the national government and the